5 easy habits to make 2025 your best year yet. So why does every new year feel like deja vu? Same resolutions, same goals, same excuses, and ultimately same results, right? So another year passes and you still feel like you're not where you want to be. It's because we're too busy focusing on the wrong things, like work harder, save more, and they're terrible goals. So today I'm going to give you 5 stupidly easy habits to make 2025 your best year yet, without feeling like you're stuck on a hamster wheel of self-improvement and not actually getting anywhere. My name's Andy. I built a 6-figure side business in Australia from scratch, and these are 5 habits that I'm focusing on, and they are really helping me. So first up, figure out your number 1 blocker and focus all your efforts on fixing that. So most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're trying to do too many things at once. And that's not a strategy, it's chaos. So we all have a limited amount of time, money, and knowledge. And trying to do too many things at once is just going to leave you too thinly stretched. And that's when you really end up feeling like you're just stuck on a hamster wheel, running as hard as you can without actually getting anywhere. You might be getting up early, working on your side business, then going to your day job, then finishing your day job, and then working on your side business again, or maybe a part-time job like food delivery. So you're working your ass off and more time passes and you feel like you're either not making any progress or the progress is just frustratingly slow. And then, like, if you're trying to buy a house prices keep going up and the goalposts keep moving, but you're there just basically treading water. And at the moment, the economy and the cost of living is making it tougher than usual, but it's not impossible. So please don't throw the towel in. It's all about seasons, right? So now we're in winter, metaphorically speaking, but spring will follow and then summer will follow. Look, I'm old enough to have seen this cycle happen before, and things always get better, I promise you. So the fact you're here watching this video already shows that you care about improving your life, and that's more than most people ever do. So before we even go into anything else, give yourself credit for taking that step, because you're already ahead of the game. So here's what I want you to do, right? So like I said, this is what I'm already doing and it's helping me. So pick one of these 3 blockers and decide which one is holding you back the most. So lack of time, lack of money, or lack of knowledge / skills. And whatever you think is stopping you from reaching your goals at the moment, I guarantee if you really look at it and strip it back far enough, it will fall into one of these 3 categories. Now you may be thinking, oh, you're lacking in all 3. And if so, I hear you, that's rough. But to get the ball rolling, you need to pick just one. And that has to be the biggest blocker. So if you had a little bit more time each week, or a little bit more money for investing, or a little bit more knowledge or skills, which would help you progress faster? So pick one, because you'll need to have that in mind when we talk about the next easy habit. And that is outsource more. So if you think you can't afford to outsource, stick with me because you might be surprised. If time is your biggest blocker, outsourcing is a no-brainer. So start with tasks that don't need to be done by you specifically. So this applies to both work and non-work activities. So for your side business, consider outsourcing basic tasks. Regular viewers know I'm a huge fan of platforms like Upwork. One of the best things about these platforms is you can hire freelancers from countries where the cost of living and therefore wages are lower. So that'll give you great value for your money. You can also outsource non-work related tasks too. So a big chunk of our week is taken up by tasks just to keep the house running. And especially if you have kids. So if you have kids, yeah, I hear you, I feel you, it's tough. But can you outsource like mowing your lawn? Can you get a cleaner? Can you do your grocery shopping online? And yes, that does actually count as outsourcing, because you're literally paying someone else to pick the items off the shelf and deliver them to you. So a Woolworth shop online costs my family like a few bucks and saves us about 2 hours per week. Just make sure you do it directly from the supermarket's website, so you're not paying more than you need to be. For time, it's obvious, but for lack of knowledge, yeah, I think the benefits of outsourcing is also fairly obvious. So for example, I'm currently working on a new product to sell on Amazon. I've done the basic design and I'm now outsourcing the next stage to someone who's far more knowledgeable and skilled than I am to get the final polished design done. So it might seem like it would be cheaper to do it myself, and on the surface it would be, but it would take me way longer and there is zero chance it would end up as good. And it would take me years of work to get up to that same skill level of the person I'm outsourcing to. So in this case, outsourcing is 100% the way to go. Now, if money is your biggest blocker, you're probably thinking, yeah, all right, Andy, how's outsourcing supposed to help me? when I'm already strapped for cash. So here's how, right? So let's say you can outsource a task for $10 an hour, but during that hour, you can earn $30 or $40, or let's say you earn $30, that's $20 profit, or what I would call like time arbitrage. So by outsourcing low value tasks, you free up your time to focus on higher value activities. Even if you're not directly earning money with that extra time, but you're using it to work on something or build towards a long-term goal, a side hustle, a skill, or a business that will eventually create more time and money options for you, then that's a perfectly valid reason to be outsourcing. So how much you outsource is going to come down to how much you can think outside the box, whether it's hiring someone to handle basic tasks or leveraging expert knowledge or creating a smart sort of time money trade-off. Like I said, think outside the box. If you're not sure where to start, make a quick list of 3 tasks that you hate doing and see if you can outsource just one of them this week. Even if it's something as small as hiring someone to mow your lawn, you'll feel the difference instantly. And the next one, be more kind / patient to yourself. Like, how many times have you told yourself, oh, I'll be happy when I've achieved X, or, when I hit milestone X, then I'll be happy, right? But then when you do actually hit the milestone, you immediately set your sights on the next one. Me too. Okay. So it's like running a marathon or a half marathon, crossing the finish line, and then about 2.6 seconds later, you're saying, right, when's the next one? So I'm trying to remind myself more often that happiness doesn't come at the finish line. It comes in the process of working on or working towards something that we care about. So this habit is being kinder to yourself and not tying your happiness to some imaginary finish line. You're doing better than you think you are. Seriously, like, take a moment to look back at how far you've come in the last year, even if it doesn't feel like much progress. Like, progress is progress, no matter how small. You're in a better place than you were 1 year ago. So I think it's super easy to fall into the trap of what's basically like an endless treadmill of not enough. And when you're constantly reminding yourself, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, it's not good enough. It's like having a really shit boss. Like, mate, if my boss talk to me the way I talk to me and put pressure on myself like I do, I'd lose my mind. And like that, I wouldn't last long in that relationship at all. Okay. So I think through figuring out how to enjoy our work more, which may mean being more patient and actually working less, we'll be happier in life for longer periods of time, not just the 2.6 seconds after achieving something. So maybe we'll actually do a better job if we're happier and less stressed. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if you agree or if you think I'm just talking absolute nonsense. In saying that, I have a day job and a young family. So if I never put any pressure on myself, I'd probably end up doing nothing. So I think it's about balance, but maybe some small changes in the way we think can go a long way. Like, instead of thinking, I'll be happy when I achieve X, start asking yourself, right, I've got to be doing this task for the next however long. What can I enjoy about this process? And talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. So, question, would you tell your best friend, wow, you really suck at this? Why aren't you further along in the process? You wouldn't, right? So stop saying that to yourself. Treat yourself with the same compassion you'd show to someone you care about, because you should care about yourself too, right? As obvious as it sounds, we forget. Full transparency, I'm basically talking to myself here because that's why these are my 5 habits to implement. I really do need to improve on that myself. So remember, while you're being kind to yourself, you might as well hit that subscribe button, because it's the least stressful thing you'll do today. Heaps of cool stuff coming on this channel. Like, you'll see a behind the scenes sort of launch and a bit in the creation process of my new products I'm working on. So yeah, I think you'll get something useful out of it. But moving on to the next one, change is as good as a rest. So add more variety to your life. Interesting fact, research shows that experiencing new things not only makes you happier, but can actually slow down how you perceive time. So that's why vacations often feel longer than your average week, because novelty stretches your sense of time. So I traveled Asia for 6 months, and you'd think it would fly by because it's so much fun. But when I think back to that period, it actually feels like such a huge piece of my life, because it was full of so much variety and novelty. And versus 6 months of doing nothing in an office job, time just flies and it's depressing as. So, we've all found ourselves saying like, oh, I can't believe the year's over already, or oh, it's nearly Christmas, how's that happen? To be honest, it's bloody depressing. So you might have heard this all before, but how often do we actually shake things up? Most of us live on autopilot. I'm guilty of it. doing the same things day in and day out until our lives just feel like one long, never ending to-do list. But a little variety can actually be really good, if not more energizing than actual rest. So science tells us that our brain loves novelty. In fact, it actually craves it. So new experiences stimulate dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical that helps keep us motivated and engaged. You've probably heard of social media companies or gambling companies using these techniques to trigger your dopamine. And that's obviously a bad way to use it, but it's not always a bad thing, especially if you can harness it to start using it for a positive effect. So variety is one way that we can do that. Without variety, our lives get so predictable and boring, and that boredom can eventually lead to burnout. So if you want to add more variety to your life, you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to move to another country, although if you do want to do that, more power to you, fair play. But small tweaks and changes to your current life will feel easier to stick to. It can literally be as simple as switching up your work environment. Like if you work from home, take your laptop to a cafe or a park or even just a different room in your house. A new setting can spark creativity and can make you feel more energized. Like change doesn't just refresh your mind, it rewires it. And that's how you grow. If you commute to work, then take a different road or explore a new neighborhood or just, you know, get on a, no, don't just do that. You'll be late. I was going to say, just get on a random train. You'll be late though. But you'd be surprised how refreshing it is to see something new. You get what I'm trying to say. If you normally film YouTube videos in your home office, film one in your car. And then maybe pick a couple of big changes. Maybe it is get a new job. Maybe it is move house. Maybe it's go traveling. Maybe it's run a marathon. I actually haven't decided on my big change yet, but I'll let you know when I do. So make sure you're subscribed. The beauty of adding variety to your life is that it doesn't just make you happier, it makes you better. So when you break out of your comfort zone, you challenge yourself to think differently, adapt and grow. Plus you avoid that feeling of being stuck in a rut, which, let's face it, none of us have time for. And finally, this one is so important. Keep your information diet clean. Right, so first things first, what is information diet? What do I mean by that? It's basically everything you consume mentally. So news, social media, podcasts, books, memes, you name it. And just like a food diet, if you're consuming junk, you're going to feel like junk. So a messy information diet clogs your brain with distractions, stresses you out, leaves you feeling like you're running on empty. So some information you consume leaves you feeling like, oh, I've learned something useful, or leaves you feeling inspired and motivated to go and get shit done. But most of it, like doom scrolling, political hot takes, the news, random celebrity gossip, it's all just noise, right? And at best, it wastes our time. At worst, it leaves us feeling deflated, depressed about the world we live in, actually sucks all of the motivation out of us. They get the views, they get their advertising money, and you get left feeling like a deflated carcass, having had all your positivity sucked right out of you. I haven't figured out if it's cause or effect yet, but whenever I'm feeling rubbish, I can usually look at my information diet and clearly see I've been watching more news than usual. I don't know if the news made me feel like that in the first place, or if I'm seeking out more depressing content because misery loves company. Like I'm already miserable, I'll go and watch some news to make it even worse. So, and then it's just a downward spiral. So what can you do? Firstly, stop watching the news. It's 99.9% stuff you have absolutely no control over, so don't waste your mental energy on it. And don't worry, if it's important, you'll hear about it from someone anyway, I promise you. I was actually chatting with someone who's a counsellor about it a while ago, and she said if you do want to consume news, then you should read it and not watch it, because if you're reading it, you have control over it rather than just being blasted in the face by television, you know, one shocking disaster after another. So next, once you've got a grip on that, cut down or delete social media. If you can't do that, give your feed an audit and let the algorithm know that you just don't want to see that rubbish anymore. I deleted Facebook a few years ago, and still to this day, the 1 second it took to click deactivate account or whatever is the biggest level up in my life in terms of life improvement per time taken to do it. Okay, don't know if that makes sense, but I do have Instagram accounts for my business, including one for Side Business Bloke, and I do find myself still wasting time on there from time to time, just scrolling. So I definitely need to work on this habit, and I am doing that, and I feel like I am improving. Instead of binging random content, be intentional about what you consume. So pick a few high value creators that align with your goals or interests. If you've made it this far in this video, you might want to include me in that group. So hit subscribe if you want to see more from me. including a behind the scenes look at all the new products and things I'm working on. But when you clean up your information diet, you free up mental space for the things that actually matter. Like, we have a finite amount of sort of energy or mental energy, and which just gets depleted with rubbish, and then we're left with nothing for, like, to work on what we actually need to be doing. Do that and you'll feel less overwhelmed, more focused, and here's the big one: more in control of your life, which I think if you're watching this channel, that's probably what you want more than anything. Instead of reacting to every bit of noise, you'll have the bandwidth to make intentional decisions and focus on what actually moves the needle. You will feel better, I guarantee it. If you want to start a side business, this video is a great place to start. It's got a huge variety of ideas in it, and you're bound to find something that suits your experience and interests. Otherwise, I think you're gonna love this video. And remember, every small step you take today is building the future you've been dreaming of. So keep going, because we're all capable of far more than we realize.